I heard a story recently. I thought it was great. I heard it in Spanish, so I'm going to do the translation in English. I don't know if I could do it any justice, but I liked it. As a frog, he's in a race. And the frog is the weakest animal in this race. It's unfair that the frog is in this particular race. How many of you right now, you feel like you're in a race? And it's just unfair. You say, my God, what's going on? Lord, do you see me? Come on, how many of you can identify with that? Lord, my God, Lord, please. Some of you are singing this song. Please release me, let me flow. Put a little Irish on that, little brogue. But listen to me. So the frog's racing and racing and racing. But on the sideline are all the people. I call them the adversaries. I call them, sometimes it's the church people. Sometimes it's the devil's people. They're saying, you can't do that. Nobody's done that before. Who do you think you are? Now, if this already makes sense to you, I got my right audience in front of me. If this who do you think you are? You may be a businessman, but you no preacher. You may be an accountant, but you can't worship God like that. My God, if this was easy, listen to me. If God would take what you were good at, right? Listen to this, catch this. And he was to multiply what you're already good at, people would say, my God, you've had that all the time. But when God takes a man like myself, businessman, know how to add, subtract, and know how to make money, and he says, no, I'm going to change your course. I'm going to put my words in your mouth. I didn't even care about his word. I didn't even read the Bible. And he starts to make you become a balm in Gilead, and he starts to give you his voice and his authority in the spirit realm. That's when the world starts to say, wait a minute, I knew this guy when? I knew him when? Ah, my God, I believe God's up to something, and not just my life. No, but I believe I'm part of a new assignment that God's about to unleash in the world. You say, how do you know that, Vic? I know what he's doing inside my internal being. I see it coming on me at warp speeds. I'm afraid of it, if you want to know the truth. The frog now is in the race. All those people yelling, you can't do this. You weren't called for that. Come on. That's not your calling. You're a frog. What do you think? You're going to hop all the way there? At the end of the race, with all these negative animals yelling at this poor frog, he wins the race. Now all the other people that were on the line come up to him. Oh, wait till that day comes. How did you get here? How did you get here? I was leaning on Jesus as I was coming out of the wilderness. Who were those people? They were leaning on their beloved as they were coming out of the wilderness. Come on, if you don't understand the scriptures, you don't want to listen to me. You got to go and listen to somebody else. They were leaning on their beloved. How did you get here? I was leaning on my beloved coming out of the wilderness. I've been in the wilderness. I was in a race. I thought I'd never going to make it through this race. I never thought I was going to make it through this gamut, but my God, he's seen me through. Wait until you see what God's got. Some surprises for you in 2:16. I swear by the Holy Ghost. Oh my God, I swear by heaven and earth that you are about to see things you've never seen in your own life. You that are leaning on your beloved. This isn't for everybody. No. You that God has given the power to understand where your source is. My power comes from the name that rose Lazarus from the dead. He kicked in the gates of hell and rose himself. Come on. That's where my power comes from. Now hear me. They started to ask the frog, how did you win the race? The frog stood there, didn't even move, didn't even give an inclination to what they were saying. One of the frog's friends came over and said, you can't talk to him. He's deaf. Ah, my God. Get it? Did you get it? Come on, don't forget it. My God, that frog was running down that race. He didn't look to the left or the right. He couldn't have, because God made him deaf. He couldn't hear the negative stinking thinking of your neighbor, your friends. He couldn't hear all their nonsense coming at you. My God, if you don't pass this message on, if you don't pass this one on, I'm wasting my time. I'm going back to collecting fishes in the sea. I'm going back to fishing if you don't pass this one on. Come on, this is a tool. You're going to get you're going to get them excited. What do you want to keep them in depression? You've been in depression all your life. I just lifted you out. Your day will come when... I wish I could do the music. You know, God's taking me away from the music now. You know, he's not having me mix the music into the mix. In this season, he says, I don't want you doing the music anymore. I said, oh, Lord, I was having so much fun with regrets. I've had a few. No, he says, no. You're going to just speak the raw gospel of Jesus Christ. My God. I'm telling you, you're slated for this too. It's not just me. There's a Joseph company coming in the earth. The first bunch talked about it, but they didn't have the power to birth it. They talked about the Joseph company. They talked about the book of Acts. They talked about it all. They preached it better than maybe I could preach it. But my God, God says they never put it into power. They weren't able to birth it. Isaiah talks about it. In that day, he said, you didn't have the power to birth. God says, you know what? Step aside. I'm about to do a third day thing, and I'm about to raise up some that the likes of this world have never seen. My God, after Jesus went to the cross, those motley crew, he says, I'm going to put my word in their mouth. They still didn't understand what was going on. Even when he walked with them on the road of Damascus, then Jesus says, get out of the way now, I better birth this. And he started to give them some revelation that changed their life. Come on now, people. It's time for you to get happy. It's time for you to realize you've been called. My father used to teach me this, and I'm going to end it with this, and it really brought this message home. I run a very big business, right? And at one time, now my son took over the mantle of that. But hear me, as I was running the business, I said, Dad, you know, I'm too much on top of my men. My father would come in and tweak, you know, my business, tweak me. He was my mentor, and you know, sometimes I didn't like his advice, but I'd listen anyway, right? And he said to me, son, you got to become a little deaf and a little blind. I said, what do you mean, Dad? He said, you can't see everything and you can't hear everything. I said, really? He says, yeah. He says, once you start looking at every nonsense thing that goes on, you'll get off the track. He says, learn to keep your ear in the heavens. Learn to hear from God. I said, you're right, Dad. When I started to put this into practice, it took years and years before I could put this into practice. I became a little deaf and a little less seeing. I didn't see as much. I didn't magnify what I seen. Come on now, people. I hope this message preaches to you, and I hope you send it out to people, because I believe this is the day that we're going to walk like Jesus in the earth, and we're going to do great and mighty things. Are you ready? Are you ready? My God is large and in charge. Write that underneath the post.